Hey looters, Flutes here. I have gone through every single wizard arcane tradition to rank them on a scale from 0 to 5 today on Flutes Loot. So before I begin, there is an article I wrote that is all about this topic. We will have that link in the description. The way that I am ranking each subclass is an average of 5 different judging points. Each subclass is judged on its high-level functionality, its low-level functionality, its versatility, its game design, like how it fits into the overall game, and how fun it is. Of course, these sort of rankings are subjective, but I tried to be objective based on the in-depth analysis I did of each subclass. Kicking things off with the School of Abjuration. This is a solid subclass that deserves a 4 out of 5. It's not the most versatile in that there aren't a lot of abjuration spells that you can use to fuel your arcane ward. A shield, almost like a psychic barrier. At level 6, you can defend your allies as a reaction. You recharge it with hit points using abjuration spells or resting. It's a cool ability because the ward just has its own hit points. It doesn't give you temporary hit points, so you can still have your own temporary hit points that are separate from the arcane ward. While abjuration spells are limited by quantity, there is something to be said for their quality. Dispel Magic and Counterspell are some of them that are very useful, and you as an abjurer are going to be able to add your proficiency bonus to any rolls you make for those spells, nearly guaranteeing that you can succeed on Counterspell and Dispel Magic even when you're just casting it at level 3 against a higher level spell. This subclass is an excellent mage slayer. You're the kind of wizard who hunts down other wizards. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars for this anti-archmage. Blade singing is next. It's a tradition that comes from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, but was updated in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Now it's available to all races, not just elves, and it has a few points that I think are improvements. This is a 4 out of 5 wizard subclass. I love its potential for multi-classing and that it is so unique to other wizards, augmenting your attacks with cantrips and intelligence. Some spells are limited for other wizards to use because they need to use it on others or it's not great to use on themselves. Tensor's Transformation is one such spell that is limited to casting on yourself, but the Blade Singer is a wizard who actually does make attacks that aren't cantrips. Tensor's Transformation will buff you with a lot of temporary hit points, and your attacks will do more damage as they have great force behind them. You can switch out an attack to use Booming Blade, so extra attack is not limited to regular attacks for you. This is pretty big. Haste is another excellent choice for you that is often limited to being given to like the fighter or the barbarian in your party, but you could actually use it yourself to great effect. Song of Defense is okay as a trump card if you just really need to avoid some damage, if you're willing to give up a spell slot. Maybe you weren't going to use that spell slot anyway, and this is actually a good way to optimize your action economy, depending on the game you're playing in. If you don't usually use all your spell slots in a fight, Song of Defense might be really good for you. And don't forget the Contingency spell, which can be a really fun one for a Blade Singer. If you're in combat and someone attacks you, you would do well to maybe give yourself Fire Shield. Or, once you begin your Blade Song, you could have it trigger to give you haste, so that you just have it going right away as soon as battle starts when you start your Blade Song. Then you still have your action to attack. I focused on the Blade Singer for my Masochist Fire Dancer build where you use absorb elements while lighting yourself on fire, and so it will always have a place in my heart just for that little build I made. Next up is the Chronergy Wizard from the Wildemount book, the Critical Role book basically. This is a very powerful wizard. Maybe the strongest. Depends who you ask. It's definitely a 5 out of 5 subclass. I think all of its abilities are unique and impactful. Focusing on time and space is a great theme for a wizard. You can freeze people in place for a limited time, kind of like Syndrome with his zero energy technology, whatever it's called. The feature I like most here is the ability to take a spell though and put it into a little moat, almost like you're giving someone a jawbreaker with a spell loaded into it. It's limited to 4th level spells and lower, but you can give your allies effects that would normally only be able to apply to yourself, like from the Fire Shield spell. And then the capstone ability Convergent Future, where you can basically just choose to have an opponent fail something. Maybe don't use it against something that has legendary resistance that'll just undo it. You just say they fail. Some of those high-level spells that you really don't want to fail because you'll lose a high spell slot. Dominate Monster, for example. yeah, just choose that they fail, and you're good. Next is the Conjuration Wizard, which I give 4 out of 5 stars. This subclass gets a slow start. Minor Conjuration is not something I've seen utilized very well, and I've even played a Conjuration Wizard. I don't have supreme memories of using Minor Conjuration to conjure up little trinkets in my hand. I did it, but nothing groundbreaking. Let me know if you have an idea. I'd love to hear it. What I did love was Benign Transportation and the ability to swap places with people. Opal and I were both playing in this campaign together when I was a Conjuration Wizard, and we were on a ship that got attacked by a giant squid. She got knocked overboard, and so I swapped places with her with my action, and then used my bonus action to Misty Step back up onto the ship, which also refreshed my Benign Transportation for the next time I wanted to use it. It's a great way to get allies out of a sticky situation. You also focus on summoning spells or conjuring up Cloud Kill, Fog Cloud, that sort of stuff. You'll be really good at not losing concentration on those spells because damage won't trigger your concentration check. You still might lose concentration for other reasons, but damage is the main one that comes up like 99% of the time. You can swap places with any creatures you summon using Benign Transportation. I just love this swapping feature, like the Vengeful Spirit from Dota 2 if anyone likes that game. Just don't tax your DM by not having your summoned creatures like stats and everything prepared ahead of time. You really need to have that set out. Next up is the Divination Wizard, which I give 3 out of 5 stars. Most people who pick this type of wizard do it for the Portent ability, which they get front loaded at level 2. So that's good. But as you rise up in levels, your capstone is getting 1 more die to your Portent, which isn't a lot to look forward to. And the abilities in between to like regain spell slots when you cast divination spells, that's a flawed concept because so many divination spells have the ritual tag. If you are not preparing them, you can cast them, but you'll use the ritual function to do so, which means you're not using a spell slot, which means your ability to regain spell slots when you cast divination spells won't trigger because you didn't use a spell slot. That's what it's predicated on. The main spells that you can count on to trigger Expert Divination and regain spell slots are Arcane Eye, Tongues, See Invisibility, Detect Thoughts, Mind Spike, True Seeing, and Foresight. Those are spells you're not casting as rituals, and they are of 2nd level or higher. If you cast a level 1 divination spell, it's not going to help you, so it's got to be 2nd level or higher. You also can't regain spell slots of 5th level or higher with Expert Divination. I don't think it would have been game breaking by any means to allow a wizard to actually regain some of those high level spell slots. The Third Eye ability is cool, but you could just cast True Seeing, which would allow you to recuperate a spell slot anyway because of Expert Divination. So, it's a good thing Portent is a useful and popular ability that comes front loaded in this subclass, or it would have to get rated lower. Next up is Enchantment. This is my favorite wizard arcane tradition. The Enchanter definitely gets 5 out of 5 stars. No question. I played an Enchanter in a political game with some cool combat as well. A lot of encounters became a breeze because I could cast Dominate Person or Hold Monster on 2 targets at the same time. And if I picked my targets correctly, they probably were not going to pass that saving throw because their wisdom just wasn't high. At lower levels, I had Hypnotic Gaze to try to lock down people if I needed just a simple ability to just concentrate and lock someone down. Instinctive Charm is a fun ability because any opponents that come next to you, you feel conflicted that like, no, I'm going to be attacked, but at the same time you're like, I can try to make them attack each other. That's really cool. The ability to alter memories is also going to serve you well because you could really wreak some havoc. It is a little weird the alter memories ability focuses on your own charisma. It does make sense, I suppose, that you might be charismatic as well as intelligent as an enchanter, as you are a manipulative person. Let's be real, enchantment is way more evil than necromancy. And just listen to all these spells that you can twin cast at 2 people instead of 1. Hold Person, Hold Monster. Charm Person, Charm Monster. Dominate Person, Dominate Monster. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Suggestion. Enemies Abound. Gaius. Modify Memory. Otto's Irresistible Dance doesn't have a saving throw initially. You can just make 2 people lose their action for a turn, and then they hope that they pass their saving throw. That's even legendary resistance proof. Power Word Pain, Feeble Mind, Power Word Stun, Power Word Kill. You can twin cast level 9 spells that can just kill people if their hit points are low enough. I love this subclass. It's so rewarding to play this Enchanter. and be creative with how you manipulate different situations and organizations. So rewarding when it works out, so fun when it doesn't, and you have to adapt. Spell Mastery at level 18, the wizard ability, is going to be so good for you because you can turn Charm Person, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Hold Person, and Suggestion into effective cantrips that you can twin cast. That is insane. Play an enchanter. You will not regret it. The Evocation Wizard gets 3 out of 5 stars. The Evoker comes front-loaded not with damage, but with safety training. So that's good that you can cast spells without harming your allies. And it doesn't have to be damage-based, like Hypnotic Pattern. You could avoid incapacitating your allies while focusing on enemies, stuff like that. But the higher level abilities of the Evoker don't do what you need it to. Adding cantrip damage if someone fails a saving throw, it's better to focus on cantrips that do spell attacks anyway, and it's just a participation trophy to get a little bit of damage if you have an enemy pass a saving throw against your poison spray or acid splash. You get a little chip damage. It's not great. Empowered Evocation boosts your spell damage a little bit, and that's good. I wish it came a little sooner at level 6 and we got rid of that potent cantrip ability. And I like that this can apply to spells like Melf's Acid Arrow, where you're doing damage over time, multiple instances of it. Overchannel is a cool ability, so at least that is neat. And I like that it's risky to use it more than once without resting. Though the Tempest Cleric can do this at level 2, so maybe this should have come sooner. You can max out the damage of a spell. You don't have to roll dice. If you like rolling dice, too bad. You just take the max value and deal massive damage. Very cool. But overall, there's just a few flawed things like Potent Cantrip that I mentioned that it seems like the Evoker doesn't lean enough into what you need it to do, which if you pick it, you want to cast Fireball, you want to cast Lightning Bolt, and eventually you want to cast Meteor Swarm. These are the abilities you really want to focus on. So it's cool that at higher levels you can really max out your damage and have fun with that. But there's not a lot else going on with this subclass. It's just not very versatile. Next is the Graviturgy Wizard, again from the Wildemount book. I think it's pretty horrible, to be honest. I give it 1 out of 5 stars. I don't do that typically. 1 out of 5 for any subclass. Its abilities are so circumstantial, and in those circumstances, not great. Like, it's just, I don't have much to say about this one, but don't pick it. The Illusionist is next. 5 out of 5 stars. This is another subclass that rewards creativity. Just make sure your DM is not going to be too harsh and just assume that monsters and NPCs know when something's illusion like all the time, because that'll really put a damper on your fun. I love this subclass augments other spells that you can already get, so Minor Illusion becomes even better because you can combine the different options. I like that it enables you to make your illusions malleable and changeable to enable more creativity and adaptability to your plans. Illusory Self is a cool ability that causes someone to miss you as they swing through your after image, kind of, and then you appear elsewhere because you went invisible. So it's like you imposed an illusion between yourself and the attack. I think this would be even better if you combined it with Mislead, so that right afterwards you're gone again, and like you just do like a lot of chain deception with your illusions. Super cool. At level 14, you can make objects from your illusions tangible and real. That's incredible. You can do so much with that. You can create bridges, and then when your enemies are chasing you across the bridge, you can make the bridge disappear. It's game-changing to take the nether energy that your illusions are made out of and concentrate it so much that they become tangible. Again, just make sure your DM's not going to be picky about whether they will require like investigation checks or if they'll just allow people to just be like, oh, that's obviously an illusion. You know, like you don't want it to be like in the beginning of Inception where the guy falls on a rug and he's like, oh, this is the wrong material. You could argue that that's an investigation check, fine. But you don't want it to be like that every time anyone looks at your illusions and they just like run through it like it's obviously an illusion. Make sure your DM's not going to be like that. And if they're not, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's a little slow to get going, as low levels you don't have the same power as you will at higher levels, but it will pay off as you really just learn how illusions work at low levels, so that when you get those higher level abilities, you are experienced and ready to utilize them. Necromancy is next. How does the old Necromancer do? I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It does what it's supposed to. Unlike the Evoker, the Necromancer just feels right. You can harvest the souls and the life from those you slay in order to heal yourself, and you just build up a big undead army. You even gain resistance to necrotic damage, which is just fine. That's a damage that comes up fairly often and isn't resisted by many things. I have seen players be disappointed when they realize they have to pay off that their undead thralls are following them around all the time. You really want to make sure that that's something you're going to be into. Doing the math of like how many thralls you can have at once, figuring out if you can give them armor and weapons to make them more effective, and roleplay how they're actually going to do out in public. Are undead creatures common in this world, or do you need to dress them up with masks and everything to hide the fact that they're undead? Are they still going to be shambling around? Like, is it going to be obvious? Talk to your DM about this one, because you might be surprised how they interpret this compared to your expectations. But still, the Necromancer does what it's supposed to, so 4 out of 5 stars, not bad. The newest wizard subclass as of today is the Order of the Scribes from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I heard a lot of people say this was like the new worst wizard subclass when it first came out, but it is not. It has some cool abilities. It's kind of like the savant abilities of other wizards where you can usually like learn spells faster, but this one can learn spells already much faster than any of those subclasses, and it can make spell scrolls really easily. That's a great teamwork mechanic for allowing your teammates to attempt to cast these spells if they are on their spell list. Or you just are saving yourself a spell slot for later as you create a spell scroll for you to use later outside your spell slots. The manifest mind of this subclass is really cool and potentially very powerful if your opponents don't have dispel magic. It's just this like ghost-like manifestation of your spell book that is sentient, that you can cast spells through and see through and everything. Like, you could just drop fireballs or do some crazy effects in some other room that you're not even in until all your enemies have been taken care of in that room, and then go in and loot and take care of the rest. Definitely not a weak ability by any means. I appreciate that this subclass plays into the whole scholarly side of wizards. You should have heaps of spells in your spellbook by the end of a campaign. And the spells that you don't use as often, you can use them to block damage. Once you reach higher levels and you've learned most spells that you want, it might lose some of its savor, but there's still some cool things you can do with this. And at the end of the day, it starts front-loaded with some cool flavor to it. It comes with this multicolor quill that you can like erase instantly and that sort of stuff. So you could be like a graffiti artist and wave your hand and get rid of it. You can use all kinds of different colors. So you could be an artist as well as a scholar. The manifested mind of your spellbook is also almost like another character you get to create. And I bet there's going to be a lot of different ideas for this. They're going to make people go, oh, that's awesome. I pictured mine as impersonation of Sloane's dad from Ferris Bueller's Day Off when Cameron says, "Oh yes, bring my daughter home, please." That'd be a fun spellbook manifestation for me. My wife would hate it. Opal doesn't like it when I do that voice. She thinks it's annoying, but I think it's a lot of fun. So in the end, I'll end the suspense. 4 out of 5 stars for the Order of the Scribes wizard. And next is Transmutation. This is one that I really wanted to like when 5e came out. I like the whole like alchemy and evolution, manipulation, like all that kind of concept with this. But here's what's wrong with it. The second level ability to like change the material of certain things for a small amount of time could be cool. Like if you need to break out of jail and you want to turn the iron bars into wood so you can chop through it or something. It's still up to DM interpretation of what you can get away with. Level 6 is good because you get your Transmuter Stone, which is where your real versatility comes through. But a few of those options aren't great, especially if you are already a race that has like Dark Vision, for example. You mostly are going to want the resistance to a type of elemental damage that you anticipate is going to come up. I wish there were more options for it, but that Transmuter Stone is the main reason you're going to pick a Transmutation Wizard. At level 10, you can learn Polymorph and cast it once, but you can't do very good Polymorphs with it. You probably already learned Polymorph at level 7 because you're a Transmuter and it's like the best transmutation spell. You're not going to wait till level 10 to get it when it starts to drop off in how good it is. This is a bad ability. The high level level 14 ability Master Transmuter does, again, kind of like level 6 did with the Transmuter Stone. You kind of redeem this class a little bit. You add more features to your Transmuter Stone if you want to destroy the Transmuter Stone and like consume it. Wizards can't usually raise the dead or like heal people or de-age people, so it's a cool ability that mixes up what wizards can't usually do you can. I'll probably revise this subclass later. I like to do some articles occasionally to revise weaker subclasses or just subclasses with flaws in them. And that level 10 shape changer ability just has to change in some way. 2 out of 5 stars for the transmuter, and I might have gone 3, but it just lets me down too much. It doesn't even get alchemist supplies proficiency like that. That seems like it should have been a thing. Last one, the War Magic Wizard. Initially, I didn't think was great. I was like, okay, but it makes for a good multi-class. But I would totally play a War Magic Wizard. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. What it does is increase your durability in combat. You can boost your armor class and your saving throws as a reaction. You can boost your saving throw or your armor class as a reaction every round. And you can boost your spells potency when you use counterspell and dispel magic, or you rest as you build up charges, essentially. Power surge, that's what it's called. So you surge your power through your spells as you've been acting defensively, dispelling other spells, like absorbing their magic to redirect through your own. I think that's a really cool concept. And when you rest, it's almost like you're building up arcane energy, Spirit Bomb style, to unleash on your own spells. The Power Surge isn't super powerful, to be honest, but it's still a cool concept, and it's simple enough that I give it a pass. You also concentrate better than most other wizards, as you get bonuses to your concentration. It's a solid subclass that deserves a 4 out of 5. I'd really like to try multi-classing with it. Think about being an Eldritch Knight and being able to, as a reaction, start deflecting spells and attacks every round. That sounds really fun. So that's me going through every single arcane tradition for the wizards. Again, there's a lot more information that I only touched on in this video in my article, and so I recommend reading through that and sharing it with your friends if you think it's interesting or you think it's poop. Let me know why. Tell me what you love about my interpretations or what you disagree with. I'm always open to having my mind changed, and this is all subjective stuff, let's be honest. Check out other articles and videos by Opal and myself. Again, we're a husband and wife duo. So yeah, before you go, cast Magic Missile on that like button and that subscribe button and that comment button after you leave a comment, I guess. Yeah, we love seeing our channel grow, and we'd love to get the word out to more people with our ideas. Until next time, this is Flute saying have a good day and happy adventuring to you all. Ta-ta.